Let's quickly talk about the rule of three with a few examples here. As mentioned, rule of three is fairly simple. During your discovery, be it return of your call, by the third question, it should be clear for your prospect how talking to you will benefit them. Take any longer and your prospect will phase out of the conversation because they'll feel like you're wasting their time. And perfecting that rule of three is the difference between a poor AE and a great one. It requires both high knowledge of the problem you're trying to solve for them, as well as a keen sense of observation to be able to quickly grasp the issue at hand and then frame your question to guide them into that money moment. Each question is your silver bullet and you only get three. I picked up a few examples to help understand how this goes. For context, we're reaching out to people that are using Clay to see if we can help them on a recurring tool stack load issue. Intro is always the same, as you can see on the screen, but you'll see that the way we caught their interest will differ from one to another. Sometimes it's fairly easy. The first question will nail it. And as you can see, we got the problem right and the conversation started flowing immediately. Sometimes they'll express a problem. Go for it, because the first problem your prospect talks about is probably their deep-seated the money shot. I deep dive it into it, showed how to solve it, gaining her trust and turning her into a hot lead there. But most of the time, it will be hard. You won't nail it at first or not at all. Here, his initial response is polite, but not showing any form of interest. It's over now. I'll be unconsciously marked as a waste of time for him. No matter what I do next, it's very unlikely that he'll become a hot lead because I wasted my 3 shots. Up next on this conversation, we get a response, but not a real form of interest. So the second question will be key and we have to choose it well. We will follow a very important rule here to never break the flow of the conversation. If you go back too quickly to what you want to sell, you'll show off as self-centered. So you have to go along and learn how to then turn it back around so that once trust is established, you can talk. Which is what I did here. I went along with his answer, showing interest, rather than going back to my initial query. It's light and it works, and the conversation started flowing, which helped turn him into a hot lead there. Up next, we get an answer, but it's not really helpful yet. And the error that we see on the screen is that Alexia didn't respect the rule of not breaking the flow. Alexia's second question went too fast for the money shot. It's self-centered. It's not about their problem. He replies, but we can see he is not engaged yet. Next, another classic error. Her third question is way too complex and also doesn't help for the prospect to understand how it will benefit him to continue on this conversation. Thus, it's fair. Your question should always be framed so it's quick and easy to answer. If the prospect has to think long for the right answer or do research, he won't answer because he is not hooked yet. And since it was the third question, he's off. And same here, another the correct conversation. While the question that were asked were useful to discover how we could help him, it's only useful for us, but not for the lead. Drilling him so hard closed him off because again, why should he continue to waste time answering questions that will not seemingly help him? What we can learn from these. First off, always finish with a question so that the conversation will continue. Second, each question should be a simple kind of yes or no question so that you may control where the conversation will go, but also simple enough so that it doesn't take too much time for the lead to reply. Too complex question will put them off. Next, never break the flow of the conversation. If the lead takes you on a specific issue, it's because it's the one they need solving on. Go for it. Which brings us to the conclusion: solve their problem. Don't be self-centered. Ask questions to spout out issues and show you can solve. If you can do that within 3 questions, you'll be able to hook any prospect you get your way.